Hi everyone, PapaSmithy here, doing this video as a 2018 year in review, but also wanted to share some plans for 2019 with everybody. 2018 for me was definitely an endurance test. I cast every Korean professional game, went to 3 Riot events, MSI, Rift Rivals, and Worlds, and also finished the year with Kesper Cup. So feels a bit like I got the achievement for 100%ing League of Legends when it comes to 2018 at least. And most people won't know this, but my original plan when I was speaking to OGN, SpoTV, Riot Games before 2018 started was to cast less League of Legends in 2018. I just wanted to do 3 days with OGN, cut out Overwatch casting, and just kind of simplify my life in that way. But with Crumbs going to Overwatch League very late in December, Riot Korea came in and asked me to shoulder the SpoTV days as well. And it wasn't a decision I took lightly. I definitely tried to refuse to begin with, because 5 days of casting League of Legends full time is a very tricky undertaking. Definitely not something I would recommend to other casters around, though it's a dangerous amount of casting. And I think some people hear that and they think, okay, but 5 days is a normal work week. What's special about casting? It's honestly the fact that casting is very multimodal, especially in Korea with no analyst desk. You need to be an entertainer. You need to be able to keep up with the pace of the game. And that part's the straightforward one. But the casting job doesn't end when the cameras go off, because, at least for myself, someone who prides themselves on being current, I get home late at night, I'll watch ULCS live, watch NA VODs the next day, watch LPL whenever I get the opportunity, because that's on every day. So whether it's in the background or VODs of it, I play the game quite a bit just to at least satisfy kind of little interactions, so that I make sure that I'm not off base with some of my thoughts on how the game plays. And I also stay in contact with pro gamers to kind of ask them questions and make sure that I'm not misleading the viewers. So it's very much your whole life becomes taken over with League of Legends if you're casting that much. So 5 days of show plus all the things that I would have to do however many days I was. If I was casting 2 days, I would still be doing all the prep on other regions. But when you're casting 5 days and doing all that prep and just trying to keep current, there just isn't any hours left in the day. And that was kind of my takeaway from the year, is very much the work-life balance that people try to keep healthy was very off for me. I had to sacrifice a lot of what I wanted, personally and professionally, just to be able to deliver, because I was never going to sacrifice quality of casting. There's obviously some things that couldn't be helped just because the amount of prep time, there's finite hours in the day, but I pride myself that I think I did a good job with my 2018 year, and I was rewarded with the World Final at the end because of positive feedback from people in all areas, whether it was other casters or Riot or Reddit. Like, everyone was very supportive, and I'm very happy with the product I was able to create, but the scenario was not a healthy one. And so definitely going into next year, or in this case now 2019, that was something that was kind of weighing on me a little bit. And when it came to purely casting, apart from kind of getting through that endurance test and also finding ways to kind of keep myself at a level, because you kind of have to reinvent yourself when you're casting 5 days a week, because you're just out there. That it's so easy to be exposed. It's so easy to find a time where you have nothing to speak about because you're just on air for that many hours that you really do need to keep your wits about you. So developing that skill was something, but otherwise I couldn't really find time to grow in 2018. I'm a very growth-oriented person. I really like to have a career goal, whether it was, get to cast for OGN, make a riot event. These were things earlier in my career that I was really focused on, and having something like that really keeps me going. You know, I get really motivated having a mid to long-term goal that I'm engaged on. This year I just didn't have time for a mid to long-term goal. It was very much the short-term, get through the week, get through the season, get through the split, etc. Even though it sounds like I'm being negative, like there were many, many moments I really enjoyed when it came to casting and interacting with the community and things like that. But on that kind of development level, it wasn't a year that I look back on and smile on. It was very much a tough year to get through. So when it came to 2019, you know, I was definitely thinking about what I wanted to do with my year. And I'm never someone that has shopped myself around, but I got a very interesting offer coming through from Origin. They offered me a head coach role for 2019. Because of my background, I was a school psychologist or school counselor, depending on which term you prefer, before I was a caster. That's definitely been something where if you combine that with my kind of League of Legends analysis, that pairing together does seem to slide really well into the head coach role, and has meant that people have made me some interesting offers in the past. Some people might know that I was close to being Cloud9 coach in 2014, before I actually became a full-time caster. They offered me again in the future, and that actually led to me recommending them Reboot. So at least that story had a happy ending. And the timing of the Origin offer was a really kind of felt like a perfect storm, because I had kind of 100% of casting in some ways in 2018, and the chance to be a head coach was a really interesting one. You know, working with an established org like Refresh, you know, Astralis, Origin, whatever you want to call it, with a proven track record, made that a very attractive offer. It'd be a chance to develop a new skill set, a new challenge. I would get to work with Martin, and Deficio is one of my really close friends, so I heavily considered going to Copenhagen and going through that career transition. And ultimately, as you can tell from this video, that decision wasn't made. And mainly for me, that was because there was a bit of role overlap issues with Deficio and I. Like, both of us obviously have good game understanding and come from the casting background. And the idea of having kind of this hierarchy of Martin as kind of the Origin owner, let's say, an Origin League of Legends team, into me as head coach, and then below me a drafting coach, it felt like there was a real chance there'd be a too many cooks situation. So ultimately, it didn't feel like the fit was perfect there, and to stop casting, you know, to stop something I really love, I wasn't going to go to just any opportunity. And what Origin certainly wasn't any opportunity, it was almost the perfect opportunity. But in the end, that and kind of my promises I'd made to Riot Korea in the past about helping set up, you know, an English casting team within them, ultimately meant that it felt like it wasn't the right time, it wasn't the right fit. It's definitely not something I'm ruling out in the future, whether at Origin or with another org, because there really is some excitement to moving back to kind of my development and psychology background and applying that to the field of esports that I love so much, that almost feels like inevitably that'll be something that I want to pursue in the future. But for now, that's staying in the future. And I've decided to cast 3 days a week for Riot Korea next year. 3 days a week to me is the kind of the perfect amount. I oscillate between 5 and 6. The 6 part, don't do that one. But 3 is, for me, enough casting, but also leaves me, you know, days of the week. There's 4 days of the week remaining there. Now, obviously, I still have to do all the prep. I'm still going to be 100% keeping on top of other regions to keep the quality of my casting up. So it's not like I have 4 free days, but I knew that if I didn't make this change, I just would never have any ability to pivot, you know, or to try new projects. 3 days to me is the right number to also have the opportunity to try some new stuff. And that's why I'm making this video, is that my thoughts for next year, to find new ways to grow in esports that are not purely just casting LCK, is firstly, I'm thinking heavily about doing some streaming. It's something that a lot of people have asked me to do in the past, but I've always kind of been lost as to the best way to do it. Last year, 2018, for example, I just didn't have the time with how much casting I was doing. But I think my personal gameplay as a plat player who mostly plays to kind of learn interactions and to think about the game rather than to actually climb, to me, that's not very interesting. Maybe I'll change my mind on that, or maybe someone will coax me into playing solo queue on stream. But right now, I think there's plenty of far more talented players than me that I'd rather highlight. But I think VOD reviews are something that I've always anticipated doing. I used to do them with Monty years ago. Tried to set up a couple of duo VOD review scenarios in the last couple of years, but just timing-wise, it didn't work out. I am thinking of doing just like a once-a-week VOD review session, kind of as a way to highlight maybe games that I think aren't getting enough attention. So like the LPL, which does struggle for viewership sometimes, like maybe LPL games. But if you've watched my cast, I'm always referencing things I've seen in other games, or just calling off, an old LPL game or something like that. And I think VOD reviewing is a way to bring those games some new eyes, some new attention. And every region is definitely something I'll consider. So LCS, LEC, still feels weird to say LCS and not be talking about NANEU, LPL, every region is definitely something I consider. So a VOD review stream kind of as a once a week schedule thing, maybe on a Tuesday, is what I'm currently workshopping as a way to do something a bit different and just learn a new skill, because streaming is something that I've never done before. And I want to make content with Riot Korea where it's possible. Definitely heard loud and clear that people are interested in fleshing out Papa's Mad Life into a more real podcast form. And, I have nothing to announce today, but it's something that I'm very interested in, and where it makes sense. Remember, Riot Korea is just setting up now, and it's all a new undertaking there. If it does eventually make sense, I would love to build that into something more formal that I could sculpt into kind of a really cool content piece on the side of the LCK. Because LCK English is, going to be a product that's around for a long time, that a lot of people are very invested in. So getting and following in the footsteps of The Dive and Euphoria and the new LPL podcast is something that I would very much like to do. So kind of just in summation, it was a tough year for me in 2018, but a successful one. And thank you very much, everyone listening to this and everyone out there who was along for the ride, because it was a long one. So there was a lot of you out there. So shout outs to all of you. And then this year, focusing on healthy life balance with work. The work-life balance needs to improve, that's for sure. And also, playing around with streaming, potentially some YouTube videos, especially for the VOD reviews. It makes sense to post those on YouTube, and also just seeing where this path is leading. Like, we're all on the path, whether you're a viewer or a content creator or a caster or a player. We're all kind of reinventing ourselves year on year. So hopefully you'll like what you see in 2019, and please join us for the LCK. We start in just a couple of days. Thanks for watching.